Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand, and I'm pleased to be telling you that club football is back. Manchester United is back in the Carabao Cup tonight at Old Trafford. I will be there and I'll be looking forward to see many of you guys there as well. So get in the chat down below if you're going, but I'm just so excited that club football is actually back today, and yeah, I'm excited that we get to see Manchester United play again. But good morning everyone. Hope you are doing well. But we've got a lot to get into today, along with the Burnley game tonight that we can get into and we can have a little talk about and chat about and think about who's going to start. But the news is going to be Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot looking to get contracts, as well as Marcus Rashford and possibly De Gea. But Fred, unfortunately, is going to be evaluated in the summer by Erik ten Hag, and it's not looking like he's going to be offered a new contract, with his contract running out this summer. I think there's an extension for a year, but that's not been triggered yet on Fred's contract, but we'll get into that news in a second. And also we've got news coming in from Christian Folk. We've heard about Christian Folk a lot on this channel. He was used a lot when Jadon Sancho was being linked to Old Trafford, and Christian Folk's quite a reliable German journalist, and he said it's true that Jan Sommer is linked to he's linked to Bayern Munich as well as Manchester United. And also we've got stuff coming out surrounding team news for Burnley, so we'll get into that as well. But starting with the main news, which you can see in the headlines, which is the contract extensions. Erik ten Hag is looking to extend a lot of players' contracts, but he's also not looking to extend a few as well. And this is where I absolutely love Erik ten Hag. You can tell that what he says goes. And at first, when he came into the football club, we were very worried in the summer that we heard all this stuff about Erik ten Hag only agreeing to come into the club if he did get control over transfers, if he did get control over everything, and he was the manager of Manchester United. We know that that hasn't happened a lot in the past with managers. We know that the board has overruled what the manager has wanted and hasn't listened to the manager, which what's the point of having one if that's going to happen? So Erik ten Hag, we were worried that that was going to be the similar case again. I think we can all know now that that isn't the case, and going into new ownership as well, it's going to make it even stronger. Hopefully the new owners go in the same direction where Erik ten Hag is the one that knows about the football. He's the manager, so he should make the decision. And we saw in the summer with the signings we ended up getting that Erik ten Hag really pushed for them signings. All of them signings were Erik ten Hag signings. And again, we can see Erik ten Hag pushing in a certain direction, with Diogo Dalot and Luke Shaw in line for new contracts beyond 2024. And this is coming from Laurie Whitwell as well. Laurie Whitwell also said, despite reports coming out last night that Fred was going to get an extension, then reports are not true. Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic has said there are no talks planned for Fred beyond triggering his clause to next season. The situation will be evaluated in the summer. So we could be triggering Fred's clause, but it hasn't been triggered yet, and that could happen. But there are no plans to give Fred a new contract. And thank you everyone for saying good morning and a good Christmas morning. But get in the chat down below is, would you give Fred a new contract? Because I was discussing this with my friend the other day. I always mention that I'm discussing it with my friends, but this is what we do. Like, I'm sure you guys discuss it with your friends a lot. And I was personally saying that I wouldn't. Fred is getting on to 30 now. And does he provide that much to the team? No. Is he a squad player? 100%. But is he going to be in the future of this football club if all we are going to do is improve? And I think no. But my friend was saying we should keep him on. He's a good squad player. He has certain attributes that you can need in a game where you can bring him off the bench. And I was thinking to myself, he is a good squad player, but why extend a 30-year-old's contract? Because, I mean, look at the Brazil game when they went out to Croatia. It was Fred that gave the ball away. His game management is so poor. In that moment, you saw Neymar having a go at him. All he had to do was pass it back. Instead, he tries to break onto the attack when Brazil are about to see out the game, and Croatia end up scoring on the break. And Fred has got them little mistakes in him. He also isn't the most technically good player. We've had some of his goals, but let's be honest, he's been at Manchester United now for quite a few years, and his best spell was in our worst spell under Rangnick. He had his best spell under Rangnick, and still he wasn't dominating games or doing anything particularly special. So I like Fred. I like the moments that he's provided us with, and don't get me wrong, like, I'll always remember Fred at Manchester United, but it might be harsh triggering all these extensions and not Fred's, and giving players new contracts but not Fred. But that is the way of football, and unfortunately, if Erik ten Hag doesn't think he's good enough to be part of the future of Manchester United, then he's not going to get a new contract, and it's about time. it is about time, honestly, because how many times in the past have we seen contracts be extended for no reason? I mean, Phil Jones springs to mind. We never should have extended his contract the way we did, but we did it to save value on the player. Eric Bailly, if we weren't going to use him, I know a lot of us like Bailly, but he's made of glass, injury prone. It was obvious he was never going to get used. Why did we make him sign a brand new deal? It's not good for the player. And at the end of the day, we might want to save value, but no one's going to pay to get these players out of the contract because they're on stupid wages anyway. So it's very, 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 very difficult for me to get my head around the certain decisions we've made in the past. But now I'm very happy with the fact that Erik ten Hag is taking charge and taking control. And I hope that the Man United follow through on this and they stick to what Erik ten Hag wants to do. People say we should sell Fred. Realistically, at 30 years old, if we offer Fred a new contract, he's already on. I reckon Fred's probably on 100 grand a week. Let me actually double check what Fred is on. Are you really going to get that much value back for him? I don't think you are. I really don't think you are with Fred. Let's see what Fred's wages are per week. Fred is on 120 grand a week at Manchester United. If you offered him a contract on his same wage, no club's going to come in for him. They're just not. So I think it's time to let him go when his contract is running out. And this is what we need to start doing with a lot of players. We really need to start, if they're not performing well enough, then it's time to go. And it has to be. But also, when looking at the contract situation as well, it was obvious Marcus Rashford was going to be offered a new one. I don't think anyone can really disagree with that. I mean, the way he's transforming under Erik ten Hag, the way we had Romano on the show, and if you've watched them interviews, you'll see how much Erik ten Hag genuinely does rate Marcus Rashford. He absolutely loves him. So that was always going to be a contract that's going to be extended. And then Diogo Dalot and Luke Shaw, for me, is the correct decision. We have to get Diogo Dalot on a contract ASAP. I think Diogo Dalot is the future of this football club. It's 23 years old to perform in the way he is this season and to have such a drastic improvement is absolutely incredible. So Diogo Dalot has to be put on a new contract because he actually can speak to clubs, I think, in January. But from what I'm hearing and from what Romano says, Diogo Dalot is first choice is to stay at Manchester United, and that contract probably will get sorted out. But again, when looking at a new right back, Romano said on the show before, we've got to sort Dalot's contract before we get a right back in, because if we get a right back that is of high quality and very good, for example, if we went and got Denzel Dumfries, which I don't think is going to happen, Diogo Dalot will not sign a new contract because he's not guaranteed to be first choice, and he could go to Barcelona and potentially end up being first choice. So we need to be very careful in the way we do it. Personally, for me, we've said it multiple times on the show, so I won't go over all ground, but we've got to get someone in like a Frimpong or a Gusto, like Mark's talked about on the show before, someone that can learn under Dalot and isn't going to expect first team football, but he's still very capable of playing if Dalot is not at the top of his game. That's that kind of bench back you need to go to. And it's difficult. Erik ten Hag got it completely spot on with Tyrell Malacia, so hopefully can do the same on the right-hand side. And Jedi Knight says, time to let all players go and Erik ten Hag to bring in his own players. Well, I think Erik ten Hag's definitely got the reins on this, and he's obviously seeing players he definitely wants to work with. Because if you look at Erik ten Hag, he's got a squad mixed with Louis van Gaal players, Mourinho players. I think all the David Moyes players are gone now. But also got all these players in there as well. So, I mean, Ferguson with Ferguson's players, with De Gea and Phil Jones. So it is like a big, big mix of different managers' players. And I think it's probably the most mixed squad in the league, looking at all the different managers that have brought different players into that club. So Erik ten Hag's got his own players in now in the likes of Martinez, Casemiro, Anthony, Eriksen, but he's going to want to bring more in the summer. And we'll get on to what I think about Fred, the contract thing. And I think him not wanting to offer Fred a new contract is him saying to the board, I need a new midfielder. I'm not extending Fred, because then you can't say to me, well, we've already got Fred, Donny, McTominay on contract. Sorry, Eric, you can't have one. He'd be like, I'm letting go of Fred. Bring me a new midfielder, because I don't think Fred's good enough in this box-to-box position, because we know Erik ten Hag has said he was playing the wrong position for years. He is a box-to-box midfielder. He thinks he's more attacking. And he'll think Fred isn't up to the standard that I want in this position. I'm going to let him go in the summer. Bring me someone who is in. That's what Erik ten Hag's mindset would be. And Let's see what else we've got in the comments. Jay Drable says, remember Fred had to have a run of games to play okay. From the bench, he will be a disaster. I don't know. Fred has his uses, but I've also seen him play horrendously in a run of games. So it's like it's really hard. With players like Fred, you never know what you're going to get. Like you cannot trust them to have a great performance week in, week out. It just won't happen. And people think that Fred and McTominay should both go. If you're looking at keeping one, like we said, with bringing another midfielder in, which is, I think, definitely what Erik ten Hag wants to do. We know the priorities are a striker, a right back, and a midfielder. Letting Fred go makes the most sense. His age is higher than McTominay's. I think McTominay's 25, Fred is 30. McTominay's progressed under Erik ten Hag. Fred, I think we've got to what we can get with Fred. I don't think there's really anything left. I think that what he showed is what he's capable of. And I think McTominay is probably preferred to Erik ten Hag to play in that deeper role, which is what he wants to get someone who's more box to box. He'd prefer probably to keep McTominay in that deeper role. He's also got the height attributes, which always come into play. Leadership, like we said, he's obviously been captain of the team in the games in Spain. Didn't go too well, did it? Because we lost. But I do think McTominay's just got that little bit more to give as a squad player, which is why he would be staying. Also, he's not out of contract. He's still in contract. And to be honest with you, get in the chat down below. But if you had to keep Fred on McTominay, I would be keeping McTominay from what I've seen under Erik ten Hag every day of the week over Fred. Just from what I've seen under Erik ten Hag, I think McTominay has made drastic improvements. Still a squad player, not a first teamer, but I think he knows his role as well, which is really, really important. We always need better players, so push Dalot as well. Yeah, we do, 100%, but we don't need a situation where we actually end up losing Dalot because we've brought someone in who then has to play and then he doesn't end up being as good, and then it sometimes politically situations do get messy. So with Dalot, you've kind of got to, as a manager, sit back and think, am I going to put my trust in this player to be my first teamer? Is he going to be my first teamer? It's like Luke Shaw was always going to be, I think, even when Malacia came in, the first team player. Malacia is just the type of player that is progressing, will be a first teamer at some point, will get games, but also if Luke Shaw is playing garbage like he was at the start of the season, Malacia can come in and can take his place. But as soon as Luke Shaw gets back to his best, the competition is like, Luke Shaw's obviously better. So we need someone like that to challenge Dalot, someone that can definitely challenge him and put him on the bench, but also Dalot is the first choice, and he has just got that bit more experience and is got that higher of quality, but we'll have to see. I still hope for Timber. Timber's an interesting one because he could play it centre back, but could also play it right back. I know Adam said multiple times on the show that he's really not a fan of the utility players. I'm not really either. But with Timber, I thought in the World Cup he looked pretty good. He had one game where I was like, he looks poor. But the rest of the time, I thought he looked like a quality centre back. Also, play it right back is a good place that you can fill in. But realistically, I want my right back to be specialised in playing a right back and my centre back to be specialised in playing a centre back. Timber is a good centre back, a very good centre back. We nearly went for in the summer. But we have Martinez and Varane. We need someone ideally who can play with Martinez. And we know Timber's played with Martinez before, but can you really have two small? I know Martinez's height generally does not matter. We've seen that. But can you really have two small centre-backs? I think that might be pushing it. I might be proved wrong, but I think it might be pushing it. So I'd maybe look at someone different. But if we did buy him, I wouldn't be sad about it because I do think he's a good defender. I just personally would be looking for someone with a bit of height to come in just to give variations and someone that can kind of learn under Varane, and eventually Varane can pass the baton on to that centre-back. Don't know how we got into centre-backs here, but this is how we got to it. Great show, Bess, says Mohammed. Thank you very much. McTominay out the door next, I hope. I mean, you never know under Erik ten Hag. People slowly start to go. But I also do think it's really important to have squad players. Squad players are important. Players that know that they are a bench player but can also make an impact from the bench. And I think McTominay knows that that is him. I think if he got bench but was still playing off the bench, I don't think he'd have any questions about that. Whereas certain other players that are very, very talented are going to be frustrated for constantly being on the bench. And then it kind of becomes that frustration within the dressing room. So I do think some sort of squad players are definitely important. Also, did anybody see what TalkSport put out saying this could be Manchester United's team team next year, absolutely unstoppable. And they had a midfield of Frankie de Jong, Jude Bellingham, and Bruno Fernandes. I was like, where is Casemiro? Why would Casemiro ever be benched for Frankie de Jong or Jude Bellingham? In that sense, I think Frankie de Jong and Jude Bellingham are brilliant players. I'd love either of them at United, but you'd be playing Casemiro to balance out with one of the two. So either de Jong or Bellingham would get benched in that case scenario. So I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it's crazy that these sporting outlets are actually putting that out there. It's like, where is the football knowledge, really? Casemiro is always going to be a star in that team while he's there. Darren Mulaney says, what about Dest as right back? Eric Ten Hag was interested in Dest. I know that Eric Ten Hag was definitely interested in Dest, but to be honest with you, in the World Cup, I didn't really see anything that I thought was good from Dest. I thought he looked decent. Don't thought he looked brilliant. Didn't think he looked brilliant. He got subbed off nearly every game. He had kind of like that 60, 70 minute stint and then got subbed off for Yenlin, was it? I think it was Yenlin or Yedlin. Can't remember his name, but he was the older right back that was coming in for that experience. Dest looks okay. Doesn't look anything special. And I think it'd cost a little bit of money because I think he's on AC Milan. Is he? I think he's up there on loan. So we'll have to see on that one. But I'd be looking at someone different if I'm being honest. I'd be looking at someone with that little bit more potential. Need Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae is definitely a centre back that I'd be looking at. I think he looks brilliant for South Korea. And I've watched Napoli quite a lot this year because I just really like the way they play. And Kim Min-jae looks so good. So I would absolutely be in for him. And I don't think I think he's a release clause. I think he's got a release clause. Is it 35 million? I might be completely wrong on that one. But I do think you could get him out of Napoli. I think there's a way that you could get him out for not as expensive as what you would think. So we'd have to look into that. We've got shows coming up, though, on which centre-back that we would want to get, that we've recorded in the studio. So keep your eyes peeled for them. I'm sure they'll be out over the Christmas period. And Tom Grant says, morning, Beth, Merry Christmas. Grab a bevy and enjoy. Thank you, Tom. I will be doing that at the United game later on today, and you'll see me on the fan vlog a bit later. Maybe a couple of beverages down, enjoying United Burnley just before Christmas. What more could you want? It's like football folklore, that. It really is. And yeah, I think we've got all the super chats then. If I've missed one, just let me know and I'll go back up. And Zane B says, which midfielder, striker and right back do you think are realistic options for us, Beth? I think midfielder-wise, I'd love either Enzo Fernandez, Jude Bellingham. I'd love Frankie de Jong as well. But let's be honest, I think we're out of the race for Jude Bellingham. I think it's going to be either City, Liverpool, or Real Madrid. I think it'll be City or Liverpool. Liverpool if they get top four, City if Liverpool don't get top four. Romano basically shut it down when he was on the show last time. He basically told us we have no chance. Frankie de Jong, to be honest with you, I'm really put off going for him because of what happened last summer. Can I be bothered with enough Frankie de Jong saga? Absolutely not. Do I want a player that doesn't really want to come to us? No. So in that case, it really puts it down to me, to Enzo Fernandez, who, to be honest, I'd probably take Enzo Fernandez over Frankie de Jong if I had the option. He's younger. I think he's got massive potential. He's got that Argentinian grit in him. He's now won a World Cup. I think he's got massive potential. So I'd take Enzo Fernandez in the midfield. But he's also been linked to Liverpool. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think Eric Ten Hag is really obsessed with getting Frankie de Jong in, but don't think it's going to happen. I think he's just Barcelona obsessed. He just wants to stay at Barcelona, so I just don't think that would happen. Right back, I would go for Frimpong. I think probably I would go for Frimpong. I think he looks good. To be honest, I've not really seen much of him or Gusto, so I can't really say properly. But I've researched Frimpong more for a video and looked at quite a lot of his games, so I'd probably go Frimpong. And then centre back. Oh no, you said striker. Striker, I'd absolutely love to get Osimhen in the summer. That would be my ideal. Osimhen in the summer would be unbelievable. We'd have to break the bank. I think it'd be worth it. So yeah, that is what I would go for. And Tom Grant says, I'll be there tonight as well, right near the pitch. Great to see. Come over and see us if you want. We'll be near the hot dog stand, if you know. Near Hotel Football, we'll be there. So come and see us if you would like. And Jim Hooligan says, Amrabat for Fred would be an improvement. Dest is great going forward, but needs to work in defence. Dest drove the US forward. Yeah, Jim, I agree with that. I think Dest is he's much more confident going forward, which I suppose is what Erik ten Hag likes in a right back. He wants a right back that can handle the ball and can drive forward. We've seen Dalot do that multiple times. The difference is Dalot can also defend super well now. His defending has improved ridiculous amounts, which is why he's being offered a new contract. I remember when Dalot couldn't defend, and now he's, I think, a brilliant defender, an all-round great right back. So the work would need to be put in with Dest. But it's the same with Frimpong, really. When I looked at Frimpong, his defensive work wasn't unbelievable, but going forward, he was much better. He's more of a wing back. So maybe that's the type of right back Erik ten Hag is targeting, but we know in the Prem that they can get easily taken apart. We've seen what's happened to Trent, and he's one of the best right backs in the world, but defensively he's not that great, and he's suffered through that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. We've not been clearly touted with a right back yet, and once we do, I think we'll understand what type of right back we are going for. But it will be someone who's good with the ball at the feet. I have no doubt about that. That'll be the first kind of plus for Erik ten Hag. First kind of check in his checklist. Amrabat for Fred would be an improvement. It would be. I'll really like Amrabat for Morocco. But again, I think he's being linked to Liverpool. Maybe all these midfielders are being linked to Liverpool because their midfield is absolutely horrendous, which is. I mean, what have they got? Thiago is great, but he's aging massively. Henderson is over the hill. Harvey Elliott is decent. Not anything special, in my opinion. Fabinho's over the hill. Milner, probably one of their better players, and how old is he now? So yeah, maybe that's why they're getting linked to so many midfielders, but Amrabat does look good. I like him a lot, but it's one of them where I think it's going to be Casemiro, a box-to-box midfielder, and Bruno Fernandes. Eriksen will play as well. We need someone else who can play box-to-box. I know Amrabat can play box-to-box, but I think we need someone who is maybe slightly more technical going forward to play that role. So we'll have to see. And yeah, I think we had a member chatting before. Let's see if I can find it. On StreamYard, it's actually so hard to kind of find the chats. Back to StreamYard, because no one's at the studio today, no one's at the office as it's Christmas break. And Dia Sawni says, just tuned in, love the show, thank you. Keep, sell, Rash, Dalot, Fred, Shaw. Haven't seen a lot of them. Their chances and have failed for 5 years. Shouldn't we move on? Merry Christmas. I think we should move on from Fred, to be honest with you, because I don't think he can offer us much more. But I've said my piece on Rashford, Dalot and Shaw. I think they've all got potential and they've all got stuff that they can give us. And I think under a manager, they definitely deserve another chance. We've had a lot of managers that haven't been up to it, in my opinion. And that's not me giving the players a pass, because the players haven't been good enough. They haven't. And that's down to them, 100%. Rashford last year was just like so poor. Shaw has had so many inconsistent moments, and Dalot, to be honest with Dalot, he just wasn't getting picked. But once he's had faith shown in him, he's really improved. And all the players, Shaw, Dalot, and Rashford, have massively improved. So I would give them new contracts personally. And Duck Nugent says we want Enzo Fernandez in Manchester. I would absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So that's the thing. If we don't get Jude Bellingham, which we won't, in my opinion, I'm always so positive, but we won't. We just won't. Enzo Fernandez would be such a good player to go for, which is why, in my opinion, I'd be going for that now. I'd be trying to, when they do a deal in principle, I would be doing that with Enzo Fernandez now, just because I think I'd love to try and go for Jude, but I just don't think it'll happen. So why not be the first ones in for Enzo? And get that over the line. I'm sure the fans would be so happy with that. So we'll see. Yeah, and everyone give a like and subscribe for the Christmas period. And for the fact we've got a game back at Old Trafford tonight, we'll get into that in a second. And why not break the bank on Enzo, Hakimi and Gvardiol? I would absolutely love that, Ashley, but I just don't think we're going to spend that much money, unfortunately. And Hakimi is settled at PSG. And again, it's another player who comes in, he has to start. Dalot, it just doesn't work. But Enzo and Gvardiol are definitely players I would be looking at. I absolutely love Hakimi. For me, one of the best right backs. I mean, he was in my World Cup team in the tournament, but it's one of them where you'd have to pick either Dalot or Hakimi. We have Dalot now and he's progressing, so I wouldn't change it. That's just my opinion. I really do like Dalot. Can't rave about him enough, as you can see on the show. But we've talked about contracts now. But let's move on to some news coming out about Jan Sommer. And we spoke about this on the show a lot. I don't think it's me that's necessarily spoke about it. I think Adam's done quite a few shows on Jan Sommer. And we just seem to keep getting linked to him. Didn't have a great World Cup for Switzerland. When I saw him play, didn't look good, to be honest with you. I thought in the Euros he looked fantastic. And for club, he's been good as well. And he's 34 years old, so he's like a veteran goalkeeper. And it's coming in from Christian Folk that Jan Sommer is a candidate as a replacement for Manuel Neuer. The goalkeeper speculates also at Manchester United. Sommer is a free agent in the summer. We know Manchester United love a free agent. We also love to get a goalkeeper in. We often love to get a goalkeeper in. But with Jan Sommer, he would surely be challenging David De Gea for that number one spot. I don't think he'd want to leave and just constantly sit on the bench. And then we've heard about David De Gea that I forgot to mention this one actually. Laurie Whittle also said David De Gea is being open to negotiating a lower wage to extend its time at MUFC beyond 2023, which was first mooted by us in October, coming from The Athletic. Those talks are now beginning. So there was question marks over whether De Gea was going to be offered a new contract, but De Gea is open to discussing a lower wage, which is great to see because 375 grand a week is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is. And De Gea, I think he'll still get a decent wage, but I think he wants to stay at Manchester United. He's said it many times in the press, he said it in interviews, he's been open about it. He wants to stay at Manchester United, but we've seen question marks over whether Erik ten Hag is going to extend him. It seems to me that Erik ten Hag does like David De Gea. I think he's been so much better this season when he's actually being coached by probably a team of goalkeeper coaches that have been instructed by Erik ten Hag on how he wants a goalkeeper to play. It just seems like the coaching has been so off at Manchester United for a long time. Does David De Gea still fill me with hope off a cross? No. Does he fill me with hope with a ball at his feet? No. Does he fill me with hope coming off his line? No. Does he fill me with hope as a shot stopper, one of the best in the world? If not the best in the world, shot stopping wise. Absolutely brilliant. But we can say that his distribution massively improved. Coming for crosses has improved. Not massively, but has improved. And coming off his line has massively improved as well. There's been times this season where I've been watching at Old Trafford and I see David De Gea far off his line. I'm like, that's completely new. So for me, if he can carry that on this season and keep improving, I would be keeping David De Gea over Jan Sommer any day of the week, personally. I like Jan Sommer, not as a first choice though for me. And as 34 years old coming in, I would welcome him as a backup, but I wouldn't welcome him as a first teamer if we're getting rid of David De Gea. So that's my opinions on that. But yeah, Bayern have already held talks with Sommer's representatives, and the 34-year-old current contract expires at the end of the campaign. However, the Bundesliga giants want him in January. So yeah, I think what you could see with Jan Sommer is I can definitely see Bayern Munich pushing this over the line in January, which kind of will stop all the rumours between Manchester United and Jan Sommer in the summer. And I think as well, the reason we've been linked to Sommer so much is you link a goalkeeper's name with Manchester United, it's always going to get news in the press. It's always going to kind of blow up on Twitter in the news. And a lot of the times this can happen because Jan Sommer will be looking for a move. He's a free agent. What better way to get it out there and get your name out there? Well, his name's already out there, but get it out there that he's going to be moving and he's a free agent than attaching it to the biggest club in the world. It's always going to get talked about. So I think that is one of the reasons why it's been speculated so much as well. We've seen it so many times with Manchester United that people are just linked to us to kind of get some news out there. But yeah, I think it would definitely be wise for Bayern Munich to go for him in January, considering Manuel Neuer is out. But we'll have to wait and see. I do kind of hope something happens with him soon so we can stop being linked to him, because I just don't think it's going to end up happening. I think De Gea will end up staying. And well, yeah, I think De Gea will end up staying unless something drastic happens towards the end of the season, unless De Gea reverts back to old ways and doesn't play well. Then Erik ten Hag might think differently about the goalkeeping situation, but I think De Gea will end up staying. And also, a lot of people, yeah, again, Sommer 8-6 goals versus Portugal. He wasn't good in that game, but he is a good keeper. He is a good keeper. I don't think you can judge a keeper by one game. He's a good keeper, Jan Sommer. But I would prefer David De Gea. He's also not a keeper that is massive on coming off his line either and distribution-wise either. So It's not as if it's a huge improvement in that department. And also, I just wanted to quickly bring up, it's not really anything to do with the show, but while we're on goalkeepers, everyone was raving about Diego Costa before the World Cup, including myself, saying it'd be great to bring him in summer. So many people saying get rid of De Gea, bring in Costa. And for me, the World Cup just kind of brought me back to earth and highlighted we should be grateful for the keeper that we've got. Do I think Costa's got massive potential? Yes. Do I think he's a good keeper? Yes. Do I think he's currently better than De Gea? No. From what I saw in the World Cup, no. He made quite a few mistakes. Maybe it's just a young goalkeeper being nervous, but I didn't see anything jump out to me around Costa for Portugal. And he's been touted as that goalkeeper to come in and be brilliant. And I do think he's looked very good for Porto, don't get me wrong. And I do think there's potential there. But I think we need to be grateful, to be honest, with how good De Gea has been and how experienced De Gea is. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Zayn Mayasi says, unless you buy striker, you won't finish top 6. Are you ready for the Emirates visit? Zayn, I think, is the show out? The show might be out on our predictions for the rest of the season. And, well, the predictions on the first 6 games back. And I actually touted Man United to win at the Emirates, do the double on Arsenal. Arsenal are going to be brought back down to earth very, very quickly when the season kicks off again. No Jesus is going to be a big problem for you guys. And I think you need to be buying a striker in January or else I think you're going to struggle. So, yeah, talk to me when you win some games without Jesus, saying Miasi. So, yeah, we'll see. I know Arsenal are quite far ahead of us, but I still have confidence that United can beat them at the Emirates. I think they've been great, Arsenal. They have. Not going to lie about it, but I do think they're definitely beatable and I think we can beat them. I just saw a chat then that I kind of missed. Oh, yeah, I love this World Cup. Yeah, just a little bit on this World Cup. World Cup was for me phenomenal. Phenomenal. I couldn't say that properly. But I know I've seen Mark speak about it a few times on here saying he didn't think the World Cup was that good and he didn't like it midway through a season. Midway through a season is never a good time to have a World Cup. But wow, I love this World Cup. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the quality of games were great. I thought the different types of teams you had. I thought the underdog stories were brilliant. The way that you had teams like Morocco that would just sit back but be really, really clever on the way they broke and have that game plan. The way you had teams like Brazil and Portugal that just had all that attacking flair but just didn't manage to see out certain games of football. Croatia again, the veterans making it through. I mean, England played some good football despite losing to France. That was an awful game. I did lose a bit of interest in the World Cup when we lost to France, to be honest with you. And then Argentina, France final. Wow. I think the best game of football, one of the best. Man United games are always the best, but one of the best games of football, certainly the best international game I've ever seen. So yeah, World Cup was good. But back onto United, because this is the United stand, and I'm so happy that we're kind of club football is back. And obviously, I really like supporting England and stuff, but Manchester United is 100% where my heart is always, and I can't wait to watch them play tonight, if I'm being honest with you. I absolutely can't wait. And I'm sure many of you are the same. And a lot of people saying Zayn Mayasi is right. We do need a striker. We 100% do need a striker. Zayn Mayasi is right. And in January, I think it is. I think Matt spoke about it last night. We are 100% going all in for Cody Gakpo. I think we will get Cody Gakpo. I do. And I think we'll get him for around probably 50, 55 million, which I think is overpaying. But I think we're in desperate territory now. We need a striker massively. And I think Gakpo is the guy that we are 100% going to go for in January. I don't think that rules us out of going for an Osman in the summer, by the way. I think if we get Gakpo, we might move on one of our other wingers in the summer and then go for an Osman in the summer. But then again, it's like with all the money that we're spending, we need a right back. If you get Enzo Fernandez, that's going to be a lot of money on a midfielder. De Jong is going to be 80 million if we go for him again. I mean, if we were even taught for Jude Bellingham, which I don't think we would be, that'd be over 100 million. Then you'd have to spend 100 million on Osimhen as well. Is that really realistically going to happen? So we'll have to see. What would you guys actually rather do? Get in the chat right now. Would you rather, say if we get Cody Gakpo in January, say if that is a deal that we do manage to get done, would you rather then spend the money that we have for summer, our budget in the summer, would you rather go for Osimhen or would you rather go for an Enzo Fernandez or a Frankie de Jong or a Jude Bellingham type player? Let me know what you would rather put the money on if we did get Gakpo and we kept Martial. Because it'd be a tough decision for me. really tough decision. I think I would go for Osimhen though. I have to say, I think the out and out striker is a necessity at Man United. If I'm being honest with you, and Anthony needs competition like Ziyech. Someone says his competition is Sancho. Sancho will be back, and I think he'll be back, and he'll get put back into the team again. It's not the end of Sancho, definitely not. A lot of people saying Thuram, and obviously the French international. Is he at Mönchengladbach? Or is he at, I don't know where. Is it a German club, Thuram? And yeah, thought he was okay in the World Cup. I like his attributes, but Manchester United, I think, need to be going for someone that is top of the game. And I Thuram would be decent. He'd be a squad player, someone that can play in the first team, but he won't be. This is our number 9. He's 100% starting every week for me personally. So yeah, I think we would need an Osimhen type player. And yeah, Thuram isn't United level. Someone said, yeah, I would rather go for someone of a higher quality. And Enzo Fernandez, a lot of people saying, people loving Enzo. I loved Enzo too. And one of my predictions for the World Cup actually went right. I said he would be young player of the tournament, Enzo Fernandez. And was he young player of the tournament? Yes, he was. I got a prediction right for once. So I'm happy about that. Osimhen need a striker even if we get at Gakpo. Yeah. Enzo, Frenkie or Jude, a lot of people saying. So yeah, it's quite mixed on that actually. It's quite mixed on that. Let's have a look at these comments because on the stream they come through really slowly. If we could get Osimhen, I'd snap him up. Where is that gone? If we could get Osimhen, I'd snap him up. We need another midfielder to provide the goals. Enzo's quality. We could survive without a striker because our wingers and midfield can be bolstered and create more for each other. Interesting kind of viewpoint on that. I think in a world where Liverpool have got Darwin Núñez, and who I do think is a good player, by the way. He's not at his best yet, but I do think he's a good player. In a world where Man City have Haaland, we need a number 9 that can put goals into the back of the net. I have to be honest with you. Martial can, but he's not that type of striker, and he is injury prone. So I would love to get Osimhen. I think he would be brilliant. And Beth, you don't pronounce the H in Thuram. Our midfield is weak, no solid backups. Exactly. City has Haaland and Alvarez. We need Osimhen. So a lot of mixed opinions on that. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, I think this does come down to how things go with Martial over the rest of the season. I assume we will get Gakpo in January. I think he'll be our only signing. I think we will get him. And I think him and Martial will kind of rotate with Rashford in that striker role, potentially be moved to the left. And I think all of our front three are will be very, very versatile for the rest of the season. It's not like an Osimhen where he comes in and he's playing up front. He has to be playing up front. Gakpo can play on the left. Rashford can play on the left. Martial can even play on the left. But they can also all play a striker. So it could be very, very versatile. And if Martial stays injury-free for the rest of the season, which I doubt will happen, touch wood, I hope it does, but I doubt will happen, then things might be evaluated in the summer and they might put the money on an Enzo Fernandez. But if Martial gets injured again and we're just left with Gakpo and Rashford, I think it will get to the point where we're going to have to go all out for a top level number 9 in the summer. So we'll have to see. A lot of people saying Mbappe to United. Could you imagine Mbappe at United? I mean, I remember, a lot of you guys will remember when I was saying when Mbappe was kind of, the news was coming out that he wanted to leave PSG and he's going to leave PSG and everything like that. I think Mbappe will go to Real Madrid, by the way, for what it's worth. I think he's destined to go to Real Madrid after PSG. But I said, I don't think United will get him. But if United had any chance in the world of getting Mbappe, of course I would go for it. He's the best player in the world at the moment, one of them anyway. I think for me, probably the best after Lionel Messi. And people are like, we can't have him. He's got an attitude problem. His wages are too big. First of all, he's never going to get the same wages that he's on at PSG anyway. So his wages will have to come down. Second of all, you are going to have to pay the best player in the world, probably one of the best wages in the world. That would have to happen. If you're getting the best player in the world, it kind of averages out. Third of all, he's just unbelievable player. So I would welcome that any day at Old Trafford. But I don't think Erik ten Hag would want it because he wouldn't want one name being bigger than the club. We kind of got rid of that when we got rid of Ronaldo. And Mbappe might go down that route again. So that'd be something that he'd maybe want to avoid. And I also think the money would just be ridiculous. I think he'd rather spend it on all over the pitch than maybe on one player. So, yeah. I think it's unrealistic to even talk about Mbappe to United, to be honest with you. But if it happened, oh my God, I would be absolutely I mean, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it? What a player he's going to be. I mean, at his age to already be like that is mental. And then someone said we need to get João Felix, David Adoro. We need to get João Felix. I'm a massive João Felix fan. I've said what I think of João Felix on this show many times before. I'd love him at United. I don't think it's going to happen though. I don't think we're going to pay the amount of money that Atletico want. But you never know. And Dazza says, has Beth spoken about how good Burnley are? Interestingly enough, keep up on socials today, everyone. United Stand Twitter, the United Stand TikTok, and Instagram. I actually did an interview with Visa. Is it Visa? Visa, the Burnley fan. A lot of you will know him. He's got 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I think he's got quite a good following on there. He's a Burnley fan. I did an interview with him. It was really good. So we're going to be clipping that up and putting it all over socials today, just to build up to the Burnley game. So make sure you check on that. I'm looking forward to seeing that go out everywhere. And yeah, looking towards the Burnley game tonight, I think Martial will definitely start. I think Garnacho will probably start. Maybe Elanga. I don't know if Rashford will come in straight away. Bruno, potential. Ericsson will definitely probably start. And we know it's going to be Maguire and Lindelof at the back. Who's going to play right back now Dalot's out? This is the problem. This is the problem we've got. Probably Malacia, I think, will play. But we'll see. Wan-Bissaka has been playing in Spain on them friendlies, and so did Williams, but they were both absolutely woeful. And I think Erik ten Hag will want to win this game, so I think it'll be Malacia at right back. I mean, he's going to want to win this game. I think he's going to play the strongest team he can. And also, watching Newcastle last night, Bruno Guimaraes was back playing. So the Brazilian players should be back for us as well. So it'll be interesting to see Casemiro if he plays. Will Anthony play, or if he'll come off the bench? We'll have to wait and see. But get your score predictions in. I'm going to go with a 2-1 to United. I think it'll be a tough game. This Burnley team, much different than the Burnley you remember if you've not watched them. They're attacking. They play good football under company. It's nothing like the Brexit football that Sean Dyche was playing. So it's going to be tough. But I think there's also better room for counter-attack against this Burnley side than it was the old Burnley side. But don't get me wrong, this Burnley side are a Premier League team, in my opinion. They're cruising the Championship at the moment. And it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. And 1-0, people saying, a 1-0 prediction for Burnley is always a good one. But I actually think Burnley will score. I think Visa said, giving away some of the interview now, Visa said that they've only failed to score in one game so far this season. And he thinks that they will score. He just thinks United will score us. United will score them. So 2-1 is going to be my prediction. But everyone take care. If you go into the game tonight, have a great time. Christmas game days are amazing. If you're watching it on telly or wherever you're watching it, enjoy the game. Thank you so much for staying with me throughout the show and liking, subscribing, everything like that. And yeah, it's great to talk to you guys on a show like this. We've not seen you all in a little while on a one-to-one show, so it's great to speak. So yeah, get in the comments down below what your thoughts are on the contract extensions. Is it harsh to not give Fred a new contract? It's the right decision to do. Would you prefer to go for a midfielder in the summer, or would you prefer to go for a striker, and what your targets would be? And do you think there's actually any news in this Jan Sommer goalkeeper story? I don't think there is, personally. But thank you, everyone, for staying with me on the show, and I'll see you on the next one. And hopefully United get the win tonight, everyone.